Welcome back, everybody, to the newest episode of PenPodcast.com. I'm your host, Matthew Harms, founder of Pen for Hire, where we offer premier ghostwriting and author coaching services. Also, the creators of the Pen Podcast, where we sit with authors, writers, writing industry professionals, subject matter experts, and all-around interesting people. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Andrea Iorio. How are you today, Andrea?
I'm great, Matt. Thanks for the invitation.
It is my pleasure. You know, we love giving shine to writers, especially. Even better when we can give back to clients that we have helped get their books out there.
Yeah.
So it's been some time since you finished, and we're happy to have you on the show so you can tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your specialty, your book, and then we'll just, we'll dive in like we don't know each other.
I'm perfectly in for that. So really glad to be here, Matt. And for the audience, let's have fun.
Fantastic. So I think kind of the interesting thing I'd like to start with is how many books have you written in how many different languages?
That's a great question. So far, it's been two languages, mostly in Portuguese, the country that, in Brazil, where I've been living for 12 years, I've been publishing 3 books. It's actually not my native language. I'm Italian originally, although I've never published a book in Italian or in Italy, unfortunately. And I'm saying also yet, because I would love to publish something for my home country. But Portuguese has been my biggest language. Again, that's where I started off my career in Brazil. And I published 3 books all around this topic of mine, that is, of course, leadership intermingled with human skills and professional skills. And then I published, of course, through our work together, my first book in English. And that's exactly the one that we're going to talk about. And so it's been 4 or 5 years now, and I'm on my 4th book. Again, the first one in English, Meta Leadership, the one we're going to talk about.
Love it. So what's kind of interesting, and I want the audience to hear it from you, but when we started working on your project together, I was familiar with a lot of the concepts, but it seems like since you finished, those conversations like across the board have just gone through the roof.
Yeah, definitely. And so, it really helped. I mean, a book is a milestone for any keynote speaker like me. I'm a full-time keynote speaker. I left my executive position at L'Oreal, the beauty company. I was the chief digital officer there. And I dove deep into this word that is a solo word, a solopreneur doing keynote speaking. Of course, I work with a lot of agencies, but definitely what I noticed is having a book published definitely brings the interest of potential customers up the roof. As you said, people really start to feel, your reputation gets a boost whenever you publish a book. So it's so important for anyone out there to have it.
I appreciate you saying that completely unprompted, because you're already a successful keynote speaker, and to realize that that book gives you that separation between, because there's only so many speaking jobs out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's, a limited number of speaking slots, and of course you compete with many other speakers. And whenever you look at the opportunity that a book brings about for you to have your voice out there, to be recognized, again, books are even a great gift to give to prospective clients. And so having a book is really key. I used to say that in the career of any speaker, there is a book published era and a post published era, because it really changes. Some companies even love to hire speakers that have books published, because they can also, together with the keynote, purchase a bulk copies of the book and give it as a gift. They love to have photo opportunities for their employees with an author that has a book. You might have fans out there. So it is really, it goes much beyond the content of the book itself. It is much more related, again, to the opportunity that a book brings about to be closer to customers as well.
So I'm curious, what was the deciding factor for you finally to do it in English as opposed to Portuguese?
Yes, so life circumstances brought me to the US after 12 years in Brazil. I wanted to move back to the US, and I say back because I've had my master's degree in the US. I graduated from Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies in DC, where I've got my master's in international relations. And so I wanted to move back. And of course, in order to move back, of course, I wanted to have the right tools to accelerate my career as a speaker in the US. And the US is a very competitive market for any speaker. There's some very well-established names such as Simon Sinek and Malcolm Gladwell and Adam Grant, taking the biggest stages. But of course, there's a lot of opportunity for smaller speakers. But in order to be seen, again, my books in Portuguese were not enough. And so I said, well, as much as the books in Portuguese helped in my career in Brazil, I really need to have a book about a topic that is also relevant for the US market in English as soon as possible. And I already had kind of this theory of a new style of leadership in the world of AI and Web3, and I already had some writings around it, and I just needed the help, to put it together and to really publish a book in a language that, again, was not mine, at least not native, and that's how it came about. I really felt I needed something for the US market, and that's how it came about.
So you mentioned, and I already know the answers to this, so I'm going to play stupid, but you mentioned meta leadership and the skills that people need in today's world.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about some of those skills, because this is another one of those areas where I know a lot of the topics you wrote about are scary as hell to some people who can't adapt.
True. And it's a pretty, niched book in a way. It is for leaders, for any leader, entrepreneur, business person, but it is a book that, again, brings about a sense of urgency that not everyone is ready to absorb. And so it's also in some ways a technical book. But again, getting to some of the skills. What I think it's, first of all, to start off, there's a skill that I call reperception. That is the ability of leaders to not only perceive things, but to reperceive them. So therefore, to actually be able to update their beliefs, their knowledge in face of external changes, right? And so that's also very, very important. Not only the ability to make good decisions, but to update those good decisions in face of external changes. So that's one skill. There's another skill that is called data sense making. That is the ability of actually making better decisions based on data, but not only about processing data. That technology is much better, but at deciding what KPIs are the most important for for us as leaders to actually identify and use as better decisions. And so I think that's extremely important, data sense making. And let me at least add a third one. That's what I call cognitive flexibility, but it is basically the ability of being customer-centric. In a world where the customer is more and more empowered, it is more of our ability to understand the multiple facets of our customers' day-to-day lives, rather than just, being able to be a specialist about the product or service that we sell. And so these are just few of them, but I think they're very important. And that's a little bit of the content of the book.
So those three skills that you just mentioned, how important are they? And now I'm going to go a little behind the veil, because I know in this evolving world, right? I consistently hear from other authors how afraid they are that AI is going to steal their work, or that AI is going to replace them as a writer. And I have my standard line of why you don't need to worry about that. But from your perspective, AI and all of these new advents, those skills you just mentioned, you can't even participate without being able to reperceive and make sense of the data.
That's exactly the point. The truth is that the way that I see technology and the impact it has, it is more of an ally rather than an enemy. If we think and see technology as an enemy, as a threat, we will not be able to actually update our knowledge and beliefs in face of it. We will not be able to actually develop a new skill set. And so technology must create a sense of urgency that, okay, if I'm a writer and I see ChatGPT as a potential threat, it is because I'm not seeing it as a potential opportunity to draft out some, content for my book, and I'll just save time and spend more time at reviewing, at editing, at trimming out and adding pieces. And so that's my view of all types of technologies. And so the leaders that fight off technology and see it as an enemy, I feel, they are kind of like preparing digging their own grave, unfortunately, because technology is going to replace them, exactly because it is much more efficient and better at doing the things that they don't want to, give up doing. Well, sometimes we have to.
So I'm going to give an example for anyone who's sitting there thinking like, what is he talking about?
Yes.
Let's look at, and I'm sure we've used this example hundreds of times, if not on the show, in our own writing. It might have even been in your book, but take a company like Blockbuster Video and then take a company like Netflix.
Yeah.
They were kind of at the same place at one point, only Netflix said, I'm not going to be afraid of this new technology, right? We're going to embrace streaming. We're going to offer, hell, we're going to completely take our DVDs away. Whereas the Blockbusters of the world said, no, we can't do that. That's just, this is the way we've always done things. And this is the way we're always going to do things until they didn't exist anymore.
Exactly. And so that's, again, whenever we're faced with external change, we have this natural reaction of resisting to it. It's part of our, evolution as human beings. We always try to be protective of our environment, and therefore we would set up habits, beliefs, and routines that are, nothing more than ways in which through which our brain can save energy, and again, minimize external risks. But the problem is that the rate of change is faster and faster nowadays. And it is putting a lot of pressure on this evolutionary result that is, we as human beings are very protective of, towards external changes. And that's why I even, bring about a concept that I like to call the beginner's mindset, right? The beginner's mindset is that of any leader, professional out there that thinks almost as if it were a beginner in his or her own segment, right? Why? Because this helps us to be much more open to change. We didn't have to be beginners in the past. Why? Because throughout whole careers, 30 years old careers, you'd have to reinvent yourself just a time or two. Now you have to reinvent yourself every 6 months. If we look back to at least 1 year ago, nobody would have ever imagined that copywriters, writers, marketers out there would have, ChatGPT again as a tool or as an enemy. But and the same thing for softwares that manage sales for salespeople, data analyzing tools for leaders, and so on.
So I'm gonna use another example on the writing front, because I love what you said about ChatGPT being a tool, right? So if we look at the evolution of writing throughout history, just for an example of anyone who's afraid, we went from quill pen or cave paintings, which took forever to tell a story, to, and I'm probably skipping a few things here because I'm not a historian, but then we had our quill pen that you had to dip in ink. Slightly quicker to get your message across, but still not fast. Then we had pencils and disposable pen. Then you got your typewriter. At no point, like, I don't remember writers saying, "Oh my God, I want to go back to chiseling something in the cave wall." Right? Then you got computer word processors, computers. Now we have speak to type, all different ways and different tools for us to be able to do our jobs quicker and more efficient. Yeah. And what you said with ChatGPT, it is a phenomenal tool to generate ideas, right? So if I want to, write a blog post about the 10 ways AI is helping the world, I can ask ChatGPT, and it's gonna be more conversational than Google, where Google's just gonna give me links. And it's my job now as the intelligent, sentient human being to say, okay, those 5 things are great. 3 of those 5 things need to be fixed, and 2 of them are just completely wrong.
Yeah. And the same with calculators. And I mean, look back at the 80s, and at first, well, calculators they're bad. People are not going to be able to make calculations anymore. The truth is that they made students actually be able to learn much faster new things, rather than just spending years learning things that calculators can do better. So the point is exactly the one that you made. It is seeing that as an opportunity for us to accelerate our reinvention, because that also gives us a competitive advantage. A lot of people are in the same situation, anyone that does the same work as ours. And they also face uncertainty. They don't know what to do, how to use it, whether to use it or not, and so on. And so if we are the ones that at least experiment with it, we learn the basics, we start introducing that. And again, I'm not talking only about ChatGPT, I'm talking about tools and any type of technology. At least we'll see what works for us, and that will maintain, and see what doesn't, and that will discard. And just it's better to make a mistake or 2 along the way than just not try enough.
I love that you said that, because even going back to my example, believe it or not, with all the technology that's out there, I mean, I know how to use it. I've used it. I still prefer, you'll see, I have my pencil in my hands. It's still my preferred method of writing. So if I'm trying to work on a book, or I'm really trying to get something in my head out, I can't just sit in front of my computer and do it. I have to do it this way. Doesn't mean I've thrown all the other technologies out the window. They all serve a purpose at a point in time. I just don't want to use them all the time.
Exactly. And so, Matt, it makes me think, when I was, like managing business, like before my solo career, even now, I mean, what's really interesting is the following. I do have to create a lot of like content for social media. And in the past, I would have to hire a designer, do a number of things. And of course, I still do work with freelancers, but using Canva or other tools helped me save a lot of time on those basic stuff. And my designers now work on very much more rebranding and strategic content. And to be honest, this is even better for both sides. And so I managed to find some synergies that were not possible. And I'm super glad I'm not getting back. And although now it's me sometimes doing the design work, doing the content creation work, which was something that I wasn't doing before.
And it sounds like you said, that perfect balance, because your designers, you didn't replace them. You have just reallocated where their time is being spent, and it's now being spent at the highest and best use. The things they really enjoy, and that they can showcase their talents, instead of doing the mundane stuff that a 7th grader can do in Canva.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, it's the mundane stuff, right, that we're outsourcing. It's not the strategic, it's not, like the content itself. And so again, that is something though that it's really important to note. If we outsource everything, let's say to ChatGPT, and say, look, create a post for social media that, talks about this and makes me look smart, well, then that's a misuse of ChatGPT. If you ask him, or it, should it be, right? ChatGPT is neutral. If you ask it to actually produce a piece of content that elaborates on an idea that you've had, and you specify well, the prompt, then that's a good use of it. But again, we cannot rely too much and just outsource, because otherwise we'll, of course, lose control of our messaging, and be dependent, right? And that's something we want to avoid.
Yes, I think there's a misconception that much like humans are not perfect, neither is technology.
Yeah.
So Grammarly is a great tool for editing and spotting glaring mistakes. However, Grammarly's wrong about 25-30% of the time, because it's not intuitive enough to understand speech patterns and just certain things that you need that higher level. But that's,
Exactly.
I don't like line editing. I don't want to sit there and look for missing periods. Grammarly's fantastic for that.
Exactly.
Clean up 80% of it and then let me read through it and do the magic.
Yes, exactly. And so that's again one extra example. I do it all the time because again, as a foreigner in the US, I just want to double check. And so again, I think the message here is the following, Matt. Let's use technology as an ally for anyone that who's listening here. Let's not be afraid. Technology, is a reflection of the way we use it. And so if we use it to just, substitute some of the things that we don't want to do, well, then we're going to become dependent on it. But if we use it to save us time, to be able to focus on more strategic things, we'll see that overall our work will improve. And so I believe that's a really powerful message. But although rationally we understand that, many times we run away as a human natural reaction to it.
Yeah. I think what's impressive about not only your knowledge, but the fact that you put this in a book for people is for people to realize you are the problem, right? It's not the technology. And I mean you collectively, anyone who's thinking, I can't learn this, or I don't want to learn this. That's where the problem is. If 70, 80-year-old people have learned to use smartphones and computers, you throw age out the window. If people in third world countries who don't have their own computer can figure out how to do it, you've thrown out the socioeconomic hurdle. And really, at the end of the day, the only hurdle is the one that's in your own head.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's try to take away these hurdles from our head. Let's try to kind of be open to change. And again, maybe going back in time, I would never, consider writing a book in a different way that was just, myself writing it. And eventually I started working with you guys as partners, and that was amazing. It was definitely a way in which I saved time. I was able not to lose a number of keynotes because of agenda, and so it was faster. I think it's the same, either with people and with technology.
Oh my God, I never actually realized that we at Pen for Hire are technically a tool.
Yeah. You can, I mean, for us, for any speaker, author out there, it is a great tool to actually be able to focus on, our, more short-term revenue streams, not to lose opportunities, not to lose focus. Because I think one of the big fears of anyone out there when it comes to publishing a book is, well, I have to stop my entire life. I have to pause my career to publish a book. And it's going to take like 6 months, a year. And the truth is that with the right partner and with the right planning, it shouldn't be. I mean, it is more of a matter of like finding the right partners, and it's much easier to publish it. Yeah.
It's that reperception, right?
Yes.
Because you have this perceived notion of, well, everyone I know that's ever written a book has told me it's taken a year and they had to lock themselves in a room. But
Yes.
when you completely flip that, and whether it's just pure discipline, right? Now, granted, I'm in the writing business, so when I was able to finish my newest book in 6 weeks, it was just reperceiving like, hey, I can do this for clients. Why can't I do it for myself? What am I missing here? I'm not taking my own advice. I'm not scheduling the time. I'm not putting in the work. And I'm making excuses, right? I'm like, oh, well, Andrea needs me, or this person needs me. No, at the end of the day, I was the roadblock. And once I reperceived that and said, well, no, I just need to do for myself what I do for people who pay me, everything fell into place.
Yes, that's exactly it. And so that's you said it all, Matt. But no, yeah, definitely this is so important for us. It's a great partnership, and any author and content creator out there should open themselves up to this idea of not having to stop your career to actually, but to see the publishing of a book as a sequence of many small steps, many small pieces of content that follow a rationale, and we're together with the help of partners like you guys, would be able to put the pieces together. So I think it's less of a overwhelming task than we usually think. Yeah.
I love that. And for everyone that's listening, I mean, you need to go get Andrea's book. With that said, I know we're just about at time. Is it out yet? Is it available for purchase, pre-order, or where can people go to find you, your books?
Great. So yes, it is available on Amazon, both the Kindle copy and the physical copy. It has already been published, and I'm also getting. We are now getting into libraries. There was an event launch a book launch event in Los Angeles in a panel with other authors that I unfortunately wasn't able to attend because of the hurricane alert. I couldn't travel across the country, so I missed my own book launch, unfortunately. But we're planning on one in New York, actually, over the next, I think it's actually next week. Or this week, actually. I don't know when the episode is going to get out, but Matt, you are going to get the invitation, Marisa and the team, and we are going to share if you're able to come. Otherwise, of course, very soon, the freshly printed copies are getting to your addresses. But for anyone that's out there, it is hopefully by the publishing of this episode be available in most libraries in the US, and of course on Amazon and online. And also, if people are interested in a copy that is autographed by me, it's just a matter of reaching out through my website, andreaiorio.com, that we'll be happy to provide one.
That is incredible. I am absolutely there. We'll talk real quick after we end this recording, because it's terrible you missed your own book launch in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's...
If you're launching in New York, we're definitely going to make it a priority. The more clients we can meet, the better. Celebrate with you, see it physically. I want my signed copy. But for everyone that's listening, if we get the information in time, we'll get it on the show notes so you could possibly attend. Otherwise, head over to Andrea's website. Definitely go to Amazon, buy the book, reach out to him. I can guarantee you, having read every word in the book, there is a need for this. There is such a need for these business principles for the new leader in the 21st century. So you've spent this time with Andrea Iorio, author of Meta Leadership, and Matt Harms, founder of Pen for Hire. We appreciate you supporting our guests. So again, head over to his website and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Matt, for the opportunity of being on the show. And again, to anyone out there listening, go ahead, open yourself up to the changes of the world, and we're always there trying to learn and reinvent ourselves. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Amazing parting words of wisdom. We'll catch you all on the next episode.